Mr. Gareth A. Davis, the man that travels the world more than any human being I know. Where are you and what have you been up to in these last 7 days?
I'm in downtown Dubai. Thanks for the great introduction, as always, with your silky tones. I'm in Dubai. I'm in downtown Dubai, but I'm also over at the Palm Jumeirah quite a lot, interviewing and doing different things. I've been over here doing crypto fight night, which I came to, what is it, a week ago. Then did the IBA conference, International Boxing Association conference. Had a dust up in the sand. Well, no, Carl Froch bullied me to the floor.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. I think you done well in that. I watched it all, and we're going to talk about that because I think you done very well. I
Well,
think
we had
you
a lot,
spat in there. I think you spat in.
a little bit, but you know he's trolling. He's not a
Yeah,
super troll. They
yeah.
lied on the headline. I didn't really apologize.
No, you
Uh,
didn't.
we had a lot of fun together. We went to the IBA dinner together in black tie. I spent a whole day with Carl. I met Umar Kremlev, the head of the IBA. That was fascinating. Hung out with Terence Crawford for a while, Derek Chisora, Rashida Ali, Nico Ali Walsh. What else did I do? I spoke to Chris Roberts from the CEO of IBA as well. They're doing big things going pro next year. It was fascinating to be at their conference, to be honest, with all these guys gathering. And then I had a bit of FOMO when I saw everyone at the WBC conference in Hamburg. That's what I've been doing. I'm still here in Dubai, writing up some interviews. About to speak to Tyson Fury this week and Lennox Lewis as well on Zoom, and then heading to Riyadh in 5 or 6 days' time. Have you been to Hamburg? Tell me you've been to Hamburg to the WBC
I
conference.
haven't, and I should have gone. I didn't. This week turned out to be quite an empty week for me, and usually it's 100 miles per hour, so I thought I can't go. And then when I saw that I could have gone, I was very disappointed because I mean these WBC conference and conventions are just fantastic. Everyone turns up, and it's a time to really have good discussions about the future of the sport. On that, on the future of the sport, obviously you mentioned IBA there going pro. What does that mean that amateurs are going to get paid? Which I
Yeah,
think they should.
yeah.
Obviously, I know some kind of get paid underneath the carpet, if you like, but officially they're going to get paid now.
Well, if you remember the very successful World Series of Boxing,
Yeah.
2012 to 2016, where you had country versus country, city versus city. It was really well received at the time. And the amateurs got a bit of pro experience at the time. No head guards, longer rounds. They developed their styles more. 10 million quid's going to be in
Ooh.
the pot for the World Amateur Championships next May for the weight divisions.
A lot of
Um,
money, a lot of money.
a lot of money, and they're going to have regional competitions in five zones around the world with country versus country, team versus team. I think it's a good thing to bring back. They left the door open for the Olympics.
Hmm.
Umar Kremlev gave a great speech saying, look, we want to keep the door open. We want guys to be able to stay amateur. There's guys who are amateur in their mid-20s who've already got families. In some countries, there's no funding like there is in the UK Exchequer funding. I had a real good sit down with him to talk about the vision, and he spoke brilliantly. I was saying to him, you really need to learn English because you're such a great orator. There's a lot of perception shift that needs to go on around the world amateur governing body, I think, because there's so much grey matter or grey noise around the corruption and the bad judging, bad refereeing in the past, the bad decisions. These guys want to bring it into the 25th century or the 2025 in the 21st century as a new entity, as a way that amateur boxers from lots of countries, lots of Eastern European countries, lots of African countries, Ade, can find their way into the sport and not have to turn pro because it is quite biased. The American, UK, you look at the market where most boxers are succeeding, and it's not in Africa, for example,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
going to invest. I've heard that there are some countries that can barely afford their fee for the year to join IBA, and that they have to be helped out with those things. And they're getting grants from IBA to be able to send athletes to different competitions. I think it's really good what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Simple.
No. Yeah, you're right. Some of these, especially within Africa, I guess I can speak for from the African side of it, they can't afford to even send their athletes to some of these events. So some fighters are missing out. Some fighters are having to switch nationalities to then try and fight for other countries just because they can't be sent to these events because they just don't have the money. So I think it's fantastic what EBA are doing, and hopefully, as you say, going into 2025, a lot of money can be invested, and a lot of these athletes can stay amateur for a while because some of them need to. And fingers crossed it improves the sport. All right, let's quickly talk about your fisticuffs on the sand, on the cobbles with Carl Froch. He came in aggressive, and by the end of the conversation, I mean, there's all cuddles. I was watching you do it. I was watching you work him around, and I was like, look at Gareth here. Gareth was giving him all the compliments, spat it around. But what I like, Gareth, is that when he did try and put it on you, and he said he was going to, you were like, no, 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 that's your opinion, Carl. My opinion's this. And I like that. I was reading the comment section, and even the comment section was favorable to you as well, Gareth. So well done, Mr. Gareth A. Davis, the great Gareth A. Davis.
Listen, it was great fun verbally sparring with him. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and as I told him, you'll get there as a broadcaster. You'll get, as I teased him rather. Look, it was great to catch up with him. What he's doing with his Froch on fighting, I said, you've taken your view. You're a purist. You put it out there. You base everything on your career, and he's fully entitled to do that. But don't tell other people what they should be
Yeah.
thinking. And that's the only difference I had with him, really. I've known him a long time. He's an absolute legend in the sport. He's great fun as well. A lot of what he says, I think, is tongue in cheek. And he's a good guy. As I say, we spent quite a lot of time talking a lot about why he is where he is now. He's enjoying the freedom to give his own opinion,
Yeah.
which he says he wasn't really able to do as a broadcaster. And I think he's made himself relevant again in the game. I was with him as well when we met up with Terence Crawford. Crawford's really pushing the Canelo fight now as well, by the way. He's very keen to fight Canelo. And I like
Mm.
that Terence Crawford's revealing that. That's me segueing on a little bit. Listen, I was absolutely clear. Carl said, come on, let's have a dust up on the sand as well. And he's like, come on, you take me down. I'm like, no. And he's got a bad back as well. Could you imagine if I touched him and he'd kill me? So I
Yeah,
let
he
him
would. He
take
would.
me with no resistance. You know,
None, none. Although he did credit your martial arts skills as well. I watched the whole interview. Honestly, I thought the interview was fascinating. I thought
we
it
did
was
have a
really
good
good.
back and forth. We
I
did
thought
have
it
a
was
good
really good. Yes, I thought neither of you backed down, but in the end, man oh man, shaked on it, agreed to disagree, and that's how it should be. All right, time is against us. So let's quickly
okay.
talk about the fight cards that happened on the weekend. I want to start with the Magnificent Seven card. Obviously, it's a Queensbury promotional card, Wembley Arena, headlined by Denzel Bentley versus Brad Pauls. I know you've had Denzel Bentley in the Fight Night studio so many times. Great guy. A good win for him as well. Very good win. I thought that he started well. Brad Pauls came into it, but then Denzel Bentley kind of went away towards the end. And now he's kind of put himself in line again for another shot at Alam Kanani, Yanibek Alam Kanali. I don't know if he's ready for that, but very important win for Denzel Bentley.
Absolutely. I thought he looked world class. I thought
Mm.
Brad Pauls brought the best out in him. I thought he deserved a wide unanimous decision based really maybe on dropping Brad Pauls in the 10th, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Um, very spiteful. It's good to see the shape that Denzel. It was a really exciting fight, actually. It was nice to see the shape that Denzel kept throughout the whole competition. Like you say, he could be working towards a rematch or another fight with Yanibek Alim Kanuli.
Mm.
Talk about putting yourself in the firing line. But Denzel fancies that rematch, and he always has. It's still a very good fight, but it's still a very tough fight because what he's going to do against Alim Kanuli if he fights him again, he's going to have to start faster, which he didn't last time. He stayed very contained inside himself in that first fight in Las Vegas. Great performance. And Brad Pauls, I saw his Instagram post afterwards. Not his night. He'll come again. He'll
Yeah.
dust himself off, the great Cornishman, and maybe he'll have another fight with, I don't know, maybe he's going to be in the mix for Tyler Denny, Hamza Shiraz, whoever it is that needs to. Maybe that's a stretch at the moment because Denzel's headed towards Hamza Sheeraz, but a very fine performance by Denzel, back to his best.
Yeah, I thought the Tyler Denny shout there you just said was a good one. As you're right, Denzel's kind of heading towards Hamza, but Tyler Denny needs a win after what happened to him against Hamza. Brad Pauls needs a fight. I still like that mix as well. So some good fights from in the middleweight division. All right, let's hear from the victor. Let's hear from Denzel Bentley after that really good win against Brad Pauls.
That's the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what it takes to beat that guy now. I mean, you look at him. Since before and after me, he hasn't been the distance again. That was his toughest fight. Controversial with the scorecards, but yeah, okay, he did win. But a lot of people thought I'd done really well. Some people out in Vegas, people come to me saying they thought that was a draw at least. And that was me going there with no experience. Just a bag of heart. Just a bag of heart as a fighter, just going there and taking my chances. I've come back since then. It's been 2 years down the line, 3 years by the time I fight him again. And this time is experience. I'll have a lot of experience, a lot more heart, a lot more skill, and a lot more know-how. So I'm improving every single time. I mean, I was a late starter in this game, and I think I've achieved quite a bit, but there's still more to go.
Well, you're with the right promoter. He's got the right connections.
I am, yep, and he's backed me all the way. I mean, I've taken a few L's, and look, I've headlined 3 times this year, coming off a loss last year. So I've got to appreciate it, man. Put it to Frank and my team, Martin, and stuff like that.
What's Christmas look like, mate?
Oh, it looks amazing.
Celebration.
Food celebration.
You could go. We'll let you crack on with the family and go and enjoy yourself. Great performance this evening.
Thank you.
And congratulations on picking all that up, mate. Well done. Well done stuff. There you go, Denzel Bentley.
Denzel Bentley there, obviously looked very excited, very happy for the win, and he wants that world title shot. And look, I think that's what you should be aiming for. If you're Denzel Bentley, look, he's not old, but he's not a spring chicken anymore either. Go for the big fights. It's all about big fights. I think dream scenario for him is that Hamza Sheeraz beats Carlos Adames. Hamza Sheeraz fights Denzel Bentley for a world title in the UK. I mean, that's the big one, isn't it? If Hamza Sheeraz can beat Carlos Adames and Hamza, as a voluntary, calls up Denzel Bentley, it's a big fight in the UK, big fight for everyone.
It is. Maybe Denzel could play smart and not fight, because if he loses a world title to Alan Cannuli, maybe he isn't in the frame. And at the moment, given that he is with Frank Warren, maybe he's in the frame.
Yeah.
Or Hamza Sheeraz straight away after Carlos Adames.
Agreed.
If that's what you're suggesting.
That is.
It might be smarter to do that.
Yeah, I think so. Just wait and see what happens. All right. An interesting fight on the undercard was Lawrence Okolie. I say interesting because obviously it's Lawrence Okolie's first fight with Queensberry, first fight at heavyweight. And I messaged Lawrence immediately as soon as I saw the weight. Lawrence came in at 260 pounds, which I thought was far too heavy. His last fight at Bridgerweight against Rosansky, he was 222. A few months before that against Chris William-Smith, he was 200. So he's put on a lot of weight as Lawrence. I did speak to him after, and he said, look, he's going to come down in weight. That maybe he did, come in too heavy, but he still felt very light. He got a first round knockout victory. Before we talk about the fight, let's quickly hear from Lawrence Okolie and what he now wants in 2025.
With this win, with the stable that they've got at Queensberry and the way that he's manoeuvring people, it's just they're pushing towards trying to get me a world title opportunity as soon as possible in 2025. So that's what I'm looking for.
Already? A world title opportunity already? Would you be ready for that?
Yeah, I believe so. I think, obviously I've been a world champion for a number of years, and that's the kind of level that I want to operate at no matter what weight class I'm in. And as, from when I was in, before I even qualified for the Olympics, I've been in there with all of the best heavyweights. Albeit sparring, it's like if you talk Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Dan Dubois, Joe, like all of that, and I'm talking hundreds of rounds because they're the ones that are more competitive in sparring than cruiserweights at the time. So I've been in and around the heavyweight scene for a while, and it's there's not much of a difference other than size in terms of skills.
Lawrence Okolie there speaking after his first round victory. He wants world title fights. That's what he wants. He wants a world title in 2025. There is a bit of a queue, and Lawrence knows he's going to have to somehow jump or get involved in that queue, but he will be a fixture in the heavyweight division, Gareth, I guess, because we all know who he is, and that opens doors, and he's with the promoter that has all the heavyweights, it feels like, in Frank Warren.
Absolutely. He's made the right move at the right time, and he's the right man, in my view. Number 5, obviously, in the WBC. I like his size, I've got to be honest.
260, not too heavy?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Lawrence is a huge man, 6'5". He's been boiling down all his life. running, really boiling down his body. He was naturally a man of 225, 230 pounds. He's put on a lot of muscle. I thought he looked incredibly strong. He didn't look so smash and grab. He's not going to grab Hussein Muhammad, 112 in the world as a heavyweight. They found a guy with a record of 17-1. But he did exactly what he needed to do. And for me, I agree with him. He's talking about Agit Kabayel. He's talking about Dillian Whyte. He's talking about the top fights in the world. He won't want to be around more than 5 or 6 fights. If he wins 3 or 4 and he loses a couple, so be it. Look, Dillian Whyte's fighting this weekend against Ebenezer Tete. We should give that a mention. The key for Lawrence is that he stays in that mix and he stays marketable. And I think he did it on Saturday night. He did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, on that Dillian Whyte fight, obviously, look, Dillian Whyte gets past Ebenezer Tete, and he will. I said that's my #1 choice for Lawrence next. I think it's a big fight for both. It's a risky fight for both. At this stage of their careers, you're supposed to be having risky fights. I said Fabio Wardley as well is a really good option for Lawrence Okolie, because Fabio Wardley's not the biggest of heavyweights either. So I think, look, Lawrence has got options, and that's the best thing. He's got good options. And as we say, he's with the #1 promoter when it comes to heavyweight boxing. So I think it's really good. All right, let's quickly go stateside. There's a couple of fights. One, an ESPN top-ranked fight card headlined by Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez. They fought back in August of 2023, and it went to points. This time, no points needed. Navarrete destroyed Valdez. And Navarrete, at 135, he obviously lost to Denis Berenchik. But at 130, he's a bit of a problem because he's so big, strong, aggressive, just a true Mexican. And Oscar Valdez just didn't have enough power, enough speed, enough skill to get away. And he crushed him. Good luck to anyone at 130 fighting Navarrete.
No, I agree. Emmanuel Navarrete is a very, very dangerous, peligroso hombre con sus peleas at.
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if it's true.
He's a very dangerous hombre at 130. Very dangerous with his fists. He's just. Ade, I mean, I didn't like seeing it at times because Oscar is starting to show the signs of wear and tear as well, Valdez. He's been in so many wars and it was going to catch up with him in the end. I agree. The analysis you gave is completely right. Navarrete is too dangerous at 130. I'd love to have seen him in against Shakur at 130. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, someone that has the skill and movement to causing problems. All right, before we wrap our world tour of boxing, Liam Parrow, who was going into that fight against Richardson Hitchens, as some will say, the #1 at 140 pounds. I always said that was Teofimo Lopez, but at least #2. He was beaten by Richardson Hitchens from Brooklyn, New York. Won it by split decision, which I thought was wrong. I thought Hitchens won it and should have won it wide. But good win for Richardson Hitchens. Liam Parrow will come again. But it's a big win for Rich. Big win for Eddie, I thought. Big win for Eddie and Matchroom, that they've kind of, had a fighter, taken him, and now grown this fighter, given him opportunities, and now they've got another world champion.
Yeah, and I think Richardson Hitchens, as you know, I can count it almost as 2 surnames. Which makes it confusing at times. It's a brilliant name, but I think he's really merged into the light now, and Eddie spotted him. Eddie knew he had a star on his hands there. I think he's going to go places. Obviously, he's already gone places, but I think he could emerge as one of the strong forces. He may even have enough to be pound for pound, and we're starting to see his personality. And I think it really rubbed off on Eddie Hearn last week, because Eddie Hearn was giving it large last week. Like, if you don't support me putting my guys in with fighters who can lose, and they can lose their fights, if you don't support competitive fights, then go and watch another sport. And I like that. I liked that music from Eddie, that chin music he's putting out,
Yeah, no, completely agree. And I'm happy you brought it up, because I would have forgot that. Julian Williams, former 154-pound champion, tweeted something after, and he said, look, Eddie, he said, I think Matchroom should sack, this is what he said, Matchroom should sack their matchmakers, because they just have seen two blue chip prospects lose again. And I think Eddie came out fighting when he heard that.
Good.
And I agree with Eddie. Like, one second, should we be, sugarcoating or just, holding hands with these fighters, or should we put them in tough fights to see how good they are? And we as fight fans, we want to see tough fights. We don't want to see fighters get to 25-0 having beaten tomato cans. So I agree with Eddie. This is the time now where you're going to be matched hard. You can't keep talking the talk. You got to walk the walk sometimes. And if you lose, you lose. No problem. Come again. All this protecting your O because of the Floyd Mayweather thing is stupid. Be in tough fights and let's see what you've got. And a lot of these fighters, unfortunately, in recent, maybe it's due to Riyadh season, but in the recent 12 to 18 months, a lot of these fighters have been exposed a little bit. But they'll come again. So no problem with it as well. Thank you for bringing it up, Gareth. All right, you're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Still to come, we are going to hear from Darren Till. He spoke to talkSPORT following the collapse of his fight with Tommy Fury. Has it really collapsed? I'm not quite sure. But up next, we'll be talking Usyk versus Fury 2. What does Fury need to do to have his hand raised on December 21st? Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, we are less than 2 weeks away now from the big one. And what an end to the year as well. It's been a fantastic 12 months. So many big fights have happened, but none bigger than Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. And it was so good. We get to see it again December 21st. Remember, it will be live on talkSPORT. The talkSPORT boys will be out there covering this one as well. Gareth, let's get into it. Predictions are going to change as the fight gets closer. Opinions are going to change as the fight gets closer. You know more than I do. Fight week, you start to read the fighters, you start to sense little things as well. But as we get close to it, where are you on it? I mean, Fury seems so much more confident. Usyk is Oleksandr Usyk. That's never changed. I think it's all about Fury, isn't it? I mean, I think we all know what we're going to get from Oleksandr Usyk. I think Fury is the big conundrum, the big question mark. Is he focused? Is he training? What's the weight like? Mentally, where is he at? I think if Fury is ticking all of those boxes, he might be favourite.
He is ticking all of those boxes and he's going to be better conditioned this time. I think that's the key. But sparring conditioning, 5 southpaws in camp with him. He's been shark tanking. I do know that. I spoke to you last week and told you, I think I did, or as I spoke to his camp after we did our show. They're very happy with it. They're calling it prison, which is what it should be called. Camp should be prison. They're bored. They're working hard. All the right things. I really do think they know the weight he needs to be, 19.5, 20 stone. That is the optimum weight for Tyson Fury. He's got a great engine. We will question about whether his legs will be there for the last 4 rounds. I do think that there's some smoke screens coming out as well. I'm going to beat him up and stop him this time. Of course he will if he's got an opportunity. I maintain this right now from a distance. It doesn't feel less than 2 weeks away to me, by the way. I'm already in the Middle East. It feels like 5 days away because we start to see them on Monday, Sunday night, starting to emerge. I think it's going to be a very similar fight to last time. I think it's going to be a fistic chess match. I think we'll see Fury try and come forward a little more this time. I don't think he can stop himself from minuscule acts of japery in the ring because it's part of his smokescreen.
Yeah.
But I just think we're in for a very, very close fight again. The optics all favoured Usyk last time because of the 8th and 9th rounds, because Tyson Fury is making inroads in 4, 5, 6, and 7, but didn't capitalise on it. My word, I've seen some of the TNT Sports put a video together that was, or a little kind of episode together that was fantastic to watch. And you saw the damage in that with clipped highlights. I don't know if you've seen it, where they really did hurt each other in the fight, where they did pause each other, where they did rock each other to their boots. It wasn't just Usyk's got the optics, but Fury did hurt him as well. My feeling, certainly from here, from 5 days out of landing in Riyadh, from what I've spoken to in terms of Fury's camp, we're going to get a similar fight. That's what I believe. And he's going to be 19.5, 20 stone.
Yeah, so he's playing the big game, the size game. And why wouldn't you? When you are the biggest and strongest heavyweight out there, maybe use those advantages. I spoke about people's opinions at the top of the show, or the top of this section, changing, swaying. One person whose opinion hasn't swayed or changed is former world champion Duke McKenzie, obviously part of the talkSPORT Fight Night team. This is what he's had to say about who he thinks will win.
You're going to get the same result second time around, and I think the second time around will be more conclusive, more decisive second time around. When you know, speaking as a former boxer, when you know you can hurt somebody and you've beaten them, you've walked away with the victory. When you get the return, if you have a return, you capitalise on that. You won't want what they might consider to be a below par performance. So I think Usyk will be looking for the knockout this time, given the fact that, you know, he took 1 or 2 shots, which he probably shouldn't have done, but you can't get into the ring without getting wet, because you're going to get wet. It's like going in a swimming pool, same kind of thing. I just think that Usyk is such an intelligent fighter, lives the life, and I just think going into the return, it's going to turn the heat up a lot quicker this time, get to Fury a lot quicker this time. The extra weight that Fury's going to be carrying won't help him. It's going to make him slower, it's going to make him more predictable, and he's going to get hurt more early.
Duke McKenzie there emphatically picking Usyk, not just to win, but to stop Tyson Fury as well. What do you think of that? I mean, not many people are now in their opinions to the cross as aggressively as Duke has done there. Surprised?
No, because I think Duke has always supported Usyk as a great fighter, and he's a purist, and he knows that in pure boxing skills, pound for pound, Usyk has those kind of technical skills that Fury's an anomaly. Telescopic arms, incredible engine for a man that's 6'8", 6'9". He's a freak. But Oleksandr Usyk is the pure boxer, and I think Duke supports that. It doesn't surprise me that he says that, because if Tyson Fury overcommits in this fight, he could get stopped or TKO'd or KO'd by Usyk. I don't think he will overcommit. I just don't. They're too smart to do that. But I just think he'll come a little harder this time and try and put Usyk on the back foot. That's the key for him, if he can get Usyk on the back foot. But there's a lot of people out there that think that Usyk, fans, commenters, people in their armchairs, purists, feel that Tyson Fury may not have the legs anymore, and Usyk may capitalise in the last 3 or 4 rounds.
It may happen, right? These are 2 fighters right at the end of their careers. This is when the legs do start to go. This is when all the wear and tear of the hard fights and the sparring and what you put your body through. And I almost feel like the story isn't shown behind the scenes enough of what these fighters have to put their bodies through to get into tip-top shape to be the best on the night. It's brutal. And I still don't think that's told enough visually anyway. I think you wrote some great pieces on it, but I think visually there's still so much more that fans need to see about what goes on behind the scenes and the punishment they take. He also mentioned the weight very quickly, Gareth. Like, if Fury does come in too heavy, it plays against him as for him. Obviously, it worked for him against Wilder, but Wilder doesn't move as good, and maybe Wilder didn't make Fury use those legs when heavy. Usyk does move so much. So I kind of get what Duke's saying about the heavy thing here.
Yeah, and also if you go back to weight, Usyk hasn't ballooned to 26 stone, has he? Any time?
No, ever.
And the fact that Tyson's been 27 stone, we don't know what that took out of him, what it took out to be that big, and it does reduce your age as an athlete. You can't get away from that, and so Usyk's 38 next year, isn't he? I mean, in incredible shape for his age. You've got to think about the age of these 2 guys as well. They haven't got a lot left in terms of, timing with grandfather time, as we now call him after the Mike Tyson fight with Jake Paul. Father time waits for nobody. And we could see either of these guys age overnight as well. It could happen. Usyk looks like a freak to me as well. His dancing footwork's incredible. I make Usyk a marginal favourite going in, but I think Fury has it in him to pull off a narrow points victory once more.
Yeah, I concur on all of that. I make Usyk a favourite as well, but marginal, 55-45. It's that close. But I wouldn't be surprised if come the evening of December 21st, I'm interviewing Tyson Fury as the winner. It wouldn't shock me because I think it's that close. And as it should be, when number one fights number two, it should be 55-45, 50-50. All right, Moses Itauma is on the card as well. He fights Dempsey McKean. Brit fans might remember Dempsey McKean is giving Hrgovic a good few rounds. Hrgovic getting the stoppage right at the end. Moses Itauma, everyone is talking about Moses as the future of the heavyweight division. And sometimes you say, okay, everyone, stop it. You're getting carried away. No, get carried away because I believe he is the future of the heavyweight division. Before we talk about Moses, this is what Lawrence Okolie had to say about Moses, having watched and been in the ring with him when Moses was only 15.
I still need to wonder if it's because I was making crews or not, but there's a young guy up and coming called Moses Itauma.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember sparring him when he was 15, 16, and I was preparing for a world title shot. And like, I can't tell you what it was about him. I can in a little, but you know, it was just, he was so fast and explosive. And then he was also very skillful. And to be fair, that's probably the hardest spars that I had. Yeah, full stop.
And this was when he was 15 and 16?
This was when he was 15 and 16, and I was 27, so I was literally geared up in the best shape, ready for this world title shot. And then this boy's coming in his school uniform, taking off of his little tie and his blazer and coming to give great work. So yeah, I thought like, that's why I'm really rooting for him, because I want to see someone who has that talent actually go and accomplish great things. So yeah.
The sparring stories. I mean, some people are famous for sparring stories and they don't necessarily deliver in the ring. They almost leave it in sparring. Moses has already ticked the sparring war stories book. That's fine. And now it's coming over to professional boxing. But look, a lot of people have been talking about him. And look, Gareth, you've known him for a long time. A lot of people have been talking about Moses since he was 14, 15. And you hear those kind of stories that Lawrence sort of speaks about there. He is a problem. He's a big problem for a lot of the heavyweights, even now, I think.
He's potentially the takeover, isn't he? If they look, they're bringing him on properly. This is a really good fight for him against Dempsey McKean. McKean is keen. He's wound up by Moses has already wound him up. The big one for me, it's brilliant to hear Lawrence saying that. I think Lawrence is having a little dig at some of the other heavyweights saying that as well, by the way, because he said he'd sparred hundreds of rounds, remember, with Joshua and Fury and all these guys. Moses Itauma isn't those guys at their peak yet. But the one I will add to it is Moses getting the shirt and tie off and the blazer off from school at 15 to go and spar with Joe Joyce more than Lawrence Okolie. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. You have to pinch yourself when you're with this kid just for the realization of how young he is. I think he's carrying himself really well. I think Francis Warren's looking after him really well. I think Frank has his best interests at heart, and they won't necessarily kind of like destroy his career by trying to get him to be the youngest heavyweight champion, world champion of all time, and beat Mike Tyson's records. I think they'll do it when the time is right, and the time will be right when these top 3 or 4 guys or the older guys start to disappear from the division.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's manage him correctly. But Frank, and now, as you mentioned, Francis, do such a good job in matchmaking, pushing the fighters when they're ready and taking right fights and important fights. And I think they're going to do the same with Moses. Final one on that card, there has been a change. And normally when there's a change on a fight card, it ruins the whole fight card. But these fight cards are so good that no change apart from the main event would ruin it. Islam Madrimov is out of his fight with Usyk. Up steps again, Ishmael Davies. I will say this, for those fight fans that are worried that Ishmael's not in shape, there was, I'm not quite sure if it's still going to happen, but there was going to be a fight card midweek, as we have seen, Gareth, on some of these Riyadh season fight cards, and Ishmael was supposed to be on a midweek fight card. I think it's a Wednesday. So he was in shape. He is in shape. This isn't like the Josh Kelly scenario or situation. So Ishmael steps up to fight Usyk. It's a big step up, but co-main event of Fury Usyk, you've got to take it. No matter what, you've got to take it.
Yeah, well, he looked pretty good against Josh Kelly at Wembley, didn't he? And he deserves, I think he took that on 6 days' notice.
Yeah.
You know, I think Tell me he's not managed by Sonny Edwards, is he?
Sonny Edwards and Lee Eaton. Yes, he is.
And Lee, Sonny and Lee. Well done those. It sounds like a double act, Sonny and Cher, Sonny and Lee. So listen, they'll be singing tonight over that because Ishmael's a brilliant guy. He was brilliant in the promotion that time for Wembley all week. He came with a beautiful smile, was open and talked to everyone, talked about being blessed. Well, he's blessed again right now. And if he pulls off the improbable against Bohachuk, who's a very tough guy, he's got a bright future. In fact, if he even performs well, he'll look good on the night. I thought he was very good against Josh Kelly, and obviously gave Josh a few issues late on in that bout and stuck with it. The key, of course, which we haven't mentioned, is that Israel Madrimov is now going to fight Virgil Ortiz on that February 22 card. Wow, what a fight that is going to be at light middleweight. It's a fight I'm relishing because Virgil Ortiz has literally been destroying everyone. We were going to get Boots Ennis, but they couldn't decide on the welterweight. Boots didn't want to fight at welterweight, just to give the background. But I'm really looking forward to that fight before the main event.
Yeah. Just on that as well, just to kind of back on
who wins that main event? Come on, who wins that main event?
Which one?
Feb 22.
Bivol.
I could agree with you this time.
But I do have a Bivol poster behind me, so I might be slightly biased on that as well. Might be slightly biased.
Artur was out here, by the way. I haven't mentioned that. I ran into Artur Beterbiev out here as well.
Yeah, he was doing a tour in the UK as well, which I like. Doing a tour, I saw him with Roy Jones Jr. and Spencer Fearon, and I did see that he was out in Dubai, and I saw that Bivol was a few feet away from him. But yeah,
can I say, Ade? Well, it's nice to see these guys rotating in different regions around the world because we haven't seen Artur in the UK doing that kind of thing. I'll add in here again. You've got WBC conference getting everyone in from around the world. Great to see Turki Al-Sheikh voted as Man of the Year by the WBC. I was really pleased about that. Obviously, it's something they've positioned on the Pope in the past, on Ronald Reagan, on Nelson Mandela. And I know they're elevating him and he doesn't need elevation, but it's great to see all the fighters coming here to the IBA conference. We are really getting a time right now where everyone is melding and mixing in the sport. And I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, on that, you keep giving me stuff, keep giving me gold, then I've got to add on to what you're saying. On that, and seeing Beterbiev do a mini tour, if you like, I do think fighters who are currently fighting need to get out and show themselves a bit more. Because what we do see, and Gold Star Promotions do a fantastic job of it, but it's when fighters are retired, 20 years retired, 30 years retired, and they go on a tour. I do want to see fighters that are currently fighting go on these little tours. And it just brings more eyeballs to them. You know, fighters, we only see them once every 6 months. It would be nice when they're not in a fight camp for them to, you know, come with their teams over to the UK where they've got massive fan base. I don't think they know how big their fan bases are over here. And let's speak to you. Let's hear from you. Out of fight camp, so you're not stressed. We get a good interview, good sit down. And it was good to see Beterbiev, who even at the best of times don't speak too much, but it's good to see him do a bit of a tour.
Who used to do that all the time? Muhammad Ali. Who would I like to see to do that more? Anthony Joshua, by the way.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to hear from AJ. I feel like we've not really heard from AJ since the defeat to Dubois. Yeah. It's been a long, long time. He will be in Saudi Arabia, though, for Fury Usyk 2. So hopefully we get to hear from him there. All right, you are listening to Find Out Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we're going to hear from Darren Till after his crossover fight with Tommy Fury was kind of cancelled. Welcome back. You're listening to Find Out Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, Twitter went into a bit of a meltdown this past week, not because of the fallout with Boots Ennis not fighting Virgil Ortiz or Gervonta Davis saying he's going to retire from the sport of boxing, but because Tommy Fury posted something from his social media, I think it was Instagram, saying that he's not fighting Darren Till because he's worried that Darren Till, I'm just paraphrasing here, that Darren Till is going to head kick him if Tommy Fury is ahead. which is a load of nonsense. Darren Till was clearly selling the fight at the press conference, and I thought did magnificently in selling the fight at the press conference. What do you make of all of this, Gareth? I mean, you, I'm guessing, would have been sort of keeping yourself up to speed with this fight. What's going on here? Is it them selling it, or is this true? Is Tommy Fury really out?
Well, it's funny you mention that because I've been trying to get answers on this and I can't get them at the moment. I wonder if he's got another offer.
Tommy Fury.
I wonder whether the Jake Paul rematch is being
interesting.
offered. What
Interesting.
do you think? Does that not make sense?
That, you know what, of all the options available to me as to why he pulled out, I didn't even think about that. Because Tommy Fury, really and truly, I mean, he's not going to get Canelo in the ring. He's not going to get Conor in the ring. He's not going to get KSI in the ring because of weight. He could get Fury in the ring. It kind of makes sense.
Jake Paul, exactly.
Sorry, Jake Paul. Apologies.
Yeah. Well, listen, that is one of the logical things I was thinking through over it. But other than that, it didn't really make sense to me because, like, I agree with you. Darren Till is only saying that he's not going to throw a head kick if he's behind in the fight. It's a really good fight. It's
a fantastic fight. Fantastic matchup.
Left hand of Darren Till. So a very odd one for me.
This is what Darren Till's had to say in the aftermath. He spoke to, I think it was Adam Cattrall, and this is what he had to say. Not a very happy chappy.
Tommy's pulled out the fight, and I'm still headlining January 18th. I haven't gone anywhere, so Tommy's pulled out. Now, what he's pulled out with, because I've said a few things in press conference. Now, let's just rewind a little bit, Adam, because you know the whole history of the Furies and whatever, and Tyson and John and Tommy. So this is what we're going to do, right? I'm just going to go on a little bit of a tangent, and everyone's just going to listen, yeah? So for years, the Furies, by the way, Tyson, one of the greatest heavyweights of our time, I think he's phenomenal, but for years, the Furies have always intimidated and bullied everyone at press conferences, at fights, at fight week, at weigh-ins, whatever, That's what they've done. That's their thing. It's all mental warfare, innit, Now, John's had a few fights. John's intimidated Jake Paul's father. John buttered someone from from Usyk's team. John punched glass to try and punch KSI when KSI was making weight, whatever. All this, that's what you do. You're building a fight. We all know how this goes, right? It's not fake. It's not like whatever. It's all real. But at the same time, you're building a fight. I come along, I'm not the hardest man out there, Adam. I'm not whatever. But what I am is, and people can say whatever, like, oh, he's lost this, he's lost that. I've only ever lost to high-level competition, I am still one of the best MMA fights out there because you've got to be the best to get where I got to, So I come along and I say to the Furies at the press conference, well, I'm not threatened by you because I don't even think this is fight, which I don't. I'm not disrespecting boxing because I think boxing is one of the hardest sports in the world. In fact, I think it gives you a more long-term effect than MMA because of the punches you have to take over the amount of rounds. But I basically said, I will have it with you, and you. I'm not asked, because no one in this room threatens me. And by the way, Tommy, if I'm losing the fight, I'll just kick you straight in your face. He's then turned around and said, well, then it'll be a proper fight. And I've went, well, then I'll win because I'm a real fighter.
Darren Till there, I think it's fair to say, very unhappy, and rightly so. Look, I mean, aside from the fact that he was getting ready for the fight, it's a big money fight for Darren Till. It would have been a DAZN pay-per-view. It's a big opportunity for Darren Till to get back out there. Obviously, look, he sort of grew up with us, if you like. For those that watch UFC, you know, he was a world title contender, challenged for a world title, lost to Tyron Woodley. And he's kind of been on a slippery slope since then. This was almost that opportunity to come back into the public domain. So he's upset for a few reasons here. But ultimately, we'll wait to see what happens. I did message Mams Taylor, who runs Misfits, and he seemed to suggest that the fight is still on, which is interesting. Lee Eaton, who's got fingers in every pie, Lee Eaton manages Darren Till. I think he's tweeted the fight's on as well. KSI's tweeted the fight's on. So I do think maybe there could be a big bit of promotion going on. We're looking one way and they're acting another way. Who knows?
Interesting. I've been doing a lot of name dropping on today's show. T-Wood, Tyron Woodley was out here with me at Crypto Fight Nights, working with me as well, by the way. I forgot to mention
There
that.
you go, former
And he
welterweight
looks
champion.
very, very well. And he said he's not done. He's coming back to fight. I wonder if he could be a late replacement to fight Darren Till in a boxing match.
Maybe. It's a good shout. I like that. I like that. It's a good shout. Obviously, Tyron Woodley's one of those guys. I think he's 40 now, but he looks about 30.
Yeah.
And he's had a long time out of both the ring and the octagon, so hopefully his body's healed. Any niggles have healed as well. Look, we'll wait to see what happens with it. I will say this though, it's good to see Darren Till back. Not many fighters are good on the mic. Darren Till is one of those that ticks the box of being very good on the mic and know how to sell a fight. We'll wait and see. All right, let's quickly wrap up what we've got coming up for you this week in the world of boxing. Dillian Whyte versus Ebenezer Tete. We've mentioned Dillian Whyte a lot throughout this show just because he's one of those fighters that everyone talks about. He fights the Ghanaian Ebenezer Tete, who, look, Dillian Whyte should blow him out in a couple of rounds. Daniel Dubois knocked out Tete, I think it might have been back in 2019, in about 45 seconds. So there's your mark, Dillian. 45 seconds is the time to beat.
Yeah, and also Tete's a very kind of wild fighter. He's got 20 knockouts himself in 23 victories, I think it is. He's late 30s now.
Yeah, maybe a bit older than that.
Is it? Do you think?
Yeah. But I do think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe not. Listen, he's been around a long time. He's a very proud Ghanaian. And look, Dillian's got to do a number on him. I think they picked Tete. If Tete's in the mood and Dillian isn't on his game, then he might give him a couple of awkward moments. But Dillian's got to go in there, look impressive, do what Lawrence Okolie did last weekend, do what Daniel Dubois did against Tete, and just put himself out there again. He's done a lot of interviews. He was on Fight Night with myself and Adam Cattrall about 10 days ago, and he was brilliant. Smiles back. He's given a lot of interviews. He's good for the game, and he's got 3 or 4 fights out there left, in my view. One of them is Lawrence Okolie. One is Derek Chisora trilogy. One is an Anthony Joshua fight, and then there's this one, Ebenezer Tete.
Yeah, it's a good shout. That's a good run of fights. I mean, if he can get 2 out or 3 out of those, then I think he's done very, very well, Dillian. Yeah. And I think Dillian's exciting. His boxing ability is his boxing ability, but he goes in there, he fights, he entertains you, he sells the fight. He ticks a few boxes as Dillian. There's a fight card in Liverpool this weekend as well, headlined by 2 ladies that are on a collision course. Natasha Jonas takes on Ivana Habazin, and Lauren Price takes on Bexy Mateus. Ultimately, look, the plan that Ben Shalom has set up here is that Tasha wins, Lauren wins, and they have a big fight in 2025.
Yeah, on Sky Sports this weekend, you say Natasha Jonas, Ivana Habazin's a good fight. The Croatian against the Liverpudlian. Habazin lost to Clarissa Shields 5 years ago when Shields was 9-0. She's also lost to Terry Harper. So look at the form book there. For me, it's the WBC and WBA titles coming together at welterweight. So I see Tasha winning that comfortably, in my view. We know she's chasing a rematch after that very close fight with Katie Taylor during COVID. But I do think Lauren Price will come through. It's the IBO welterweight title on that one against Bexy Mateus. Lauren's looked brilliant since winning Olympic gold, very decorated. Bexy Mateus from Colombia, 7-0 with 6 knockouts, doesn't really have the experience. And I think Lauren Price either wins comfortably on points or stops her. I think Jonas might stop Habazin as well. And then those 2 next year probably meet, even though Natasha will make noise about that Katie Taylor fight.
Okay, to wrap, I am obviously going to Saudi Arabia, as is Gareth, as is most of the boxing world. I do have a stopgap, though, in between. I am going to Monaco. Matchroom are putting on a fight card this weekend, headlined by Akhmadaliev against Ricardo Espinoza. It's a fight in the super bantamweight division. Really good fight. Chef Clark's on that fight card as well. European title fight. Interesting one here. Gary Cully takes on Maxi Hughes. Maxi Hughes last time out lost to Zepeda, and I think everyone kind of said, okay, that's it. Zepeda's really, really good. And Gary Cully, I think, still shows signs of that defeat he had on the Katie Taylor undercard, nearly a year and a half ago. Beatrice Ferreira's on the card, and Terramona is on the card as well. And that is his name, by the way. His name is Terramona, which means David Diamante is going to say Terramona. which is going to be interesting. So look, busy week for myself and Gareth. We will obviously keep you up to date next week with what happens in the build-up to Fury Usyk. But Gareth, as always, my man, thank you very, very much. You have been listening to Find Out Extra on talkSPORT 2. Remember, if you've missed any of the show, you can listen to it as a podcast. Find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcast from. We'll see you next week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.